Hey, what's up, family? It's Pastor Seth with Mark Church. I got two of my brothers with me, RJ and Mikhail. And look, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about single fathers. We believe that single fathers need to be celebrated, and we appreciate all that single fathers are able to do with things that God has given them and blessed them with. And so, hey, RJ, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. But more importantly, like you said, my name is RJ. Full name is Robert Edwards. Active duty service member, and also current member at FFWC Family Fellowship Worship Center. That's where I do the majority of my, worship connecting. But I have three children. One that primarily lives with me right now, where I am, providing the on-site day-to-day parenting for us. So it's a great opportunity to talk about some things as it pertains to parenting.
Awesome. Love that, man. How about you, Mikhail? Why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
All right. My name is Mikhail Stevens. I live here in Greensboro, North Carolina. Born and raised. I'm currently a youth leader at Elevation Church. I shifted over from Mercy Hill, but I've been in, I would say, youth ministry for about 5 years now. I'm also a mentor across, Guilford County in North Carolina, with different mentoring programs to just honestly push youth to the next level and, do a whole lot of motivational speaking throughout, North Carolina and just across the country. And I got a 6-year-old son named Liam, who is just dear to me, who is just amazing, so smart, and has a deep love for Christ. So I think for me, man, it's been a pleasure to just come on board for just a simple conversation, to just show the world that fathers are active, and that we play a prominent role as far as development for our children.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love that. We realize in the world today, we have a fatherless generation. And so, and sometimes those fathers can rise up, whether they're in the home or not. Spiritual fathers, you said mentorship, and I'm sure you guys are spiritual fathers as well to some of our students and young people where you're at. And so, hey, let's talk a little bit. RJ, what have you experienced as some of your experiences as a single father?
It's funny you ask that, man. The experiences with me have been like pretty much the best experiences. And I say that in full confidence. It's not easy being a parent, period, but then being a single father produces challenges because the child that lives with me right now is my daughter. So that produces a whole nother set of circumstances and challenges, good challenges that produce good conversation, good output, and good opportunity as it pertains to just understanding, impact and what it looks like at large, And so, the being a father is a reward, is a privilege, and it's something that I look forward to. I go to bed at night and I look forward to the next opportunity, even on the most challenging days. I look forward to the next opportunity to create culture and to give some sort of, information as it pertains to my daughter. I always tell her every day I want her to be a productive citizen in society. And that's why we have the conversation that we have. It's about you being a productive citizen in society when you leave me. So.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. One thing about, single fathers is a lot of times you don't hear about good experiences from the mothers or the fathers as far as the single dad and their role and how they participate in their role. So, hey, Mikhail, What about some of your experiences as a single dad?
I would have to say, man, honestly, my experience has been maybe quite different than many other parents. I think for me, I have found my relationship with my son to be very dear. And I know I'm his father, but I also find my son to literally be my best friend. It's someone where my son has pushed me to be a better individual and to help me pursue dreams, not only for the purpose of me fulfilling them, but also creating a legacy. And I think when I had my son, my life changed because I realized that life isn't about me anymore. It's about creating something for the next generation to come. So I think for me, it's been nothing but a blessing. It helps. It's a great accountability partner, if anything, because it helps you stay in alignment with what God has birthed you to do and called you to do. And I think with kids, we often don't understand. Kids are so truthful. And we need that truth on a day-to-day basis, man, to keep us in alignment with the Spirit of God, man. just to show us that things are changing. And like my son often, I think they keep us up to speed because so many things are changing by generation. And some of the stuff that I'm witnessing my son do is just, it blows my mind. Whether it be technology, whether it be just the learning of information that I could fathom to even learn when I was 9 and 10, whether it be through church or just through school. So I think, man, for me, it's just been a blessing to understand that children aren't a burden, but they're a blessing. Because I think sometimes we look at the aspect of how hard it is to raise a child, but we don't look at the blessing of that they produce in our life when they're created. So I think for me, it's been nothing but a blessing to have them a part of my life and to be in the world.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You said a mouthful when you said kids tell the truth. I think about those awkward times in the line at Walmart or somewhere, and my kids just blurting out, has no filter at all, and it's just so genuine. You put you in some pretty embarrassing moments, but dude, they speak the truth, man. And so, we just want to highlight today, single dads, we salute you guys. I know it's rough. Like you both have said it, parenting, let alone with a mom and a dad together in the same house is hard, but single parenting, man, we just want to tell you guys are championing it, and we celebrate you guys. And so we just want to kind of express what are some of the good things you experienced, but then what are some of the challenges that you face in being a single father, single parent. So either one of you guys can jump right in and open up and start the conversation off.
Well, I'll jump in there. Man, some of the challenges, Pastor, it's just, well, first, I don't know how deep you want to go into, but I'll say it this way. I didn't have my daughter from the origin, you know what I mean? And so I didn't get my daughter, she's 10 now. I didn't get my daughter until she was 4 years old. And there was just some repurposing that had to go along just with that in itself. And so there were some things that I had to change about the culture that, not so much in a bad way, just to make her congruent for the way that I wanted her to be as it pertains to being around me and the things that I wanted to leave and instill within her. But then more importantly, even in being in the family construct that we had, I actually went through a divorce. And so then I had to repurpose her again, you know what I mean? And so, and in repurposing the information that I was giving her, there was a lot of things that I had to break through and get through just to form some sort of, trusted communication, you know what I mean? To where, hey, home is still home, you know what I mean? And so, I really had to go through some challenges of, check this out. I didn't realize that I was more of a provider than I was a father. And so, and realizing that, having to deal with the truth, he said it himself, Miguel said it, he said, kids will tell you the truth. At an early age, I had to really learn that, number one, being a provider is just a sub-jurisdiction or a sub-component of what it takes to really holistically parent and to really get after loving your children. It's just a sub-component. But more importantly, I had to really face self and had to understand that it's really going to take more than the ability to provide logistically and economically, her way of life. And I had to really get after the culture of it all, the legacy of it all, the communication of it all, to really speak to what is it really going to take to make my daughter, number one, be a direct replication of, who I am as her father, but then more importantly, again, her own individual being that's positive and, again, contributing to the society that we live in now. So just really repurposing everything and really having to be intentional about understanding, again, there's so many subcomponents to what it is that fathering is, but at the end of the day, it starts and it ends with love. And I had to learn that directly. And that was one of my greatest challenges, really having to understand what that really looks like. The word love as it pertains, to communicating, and not so much the action of it, but the communication of it all.
Yeah, I love that. It's constantly learning yourself, learning your child, and that's awesome. How about you, Miguel?
Yeah, that's good. Man, honestly, to piggyback off what he said, I think for me, I would say the biggest blessing of it has been my son taught me the aspect of what love is, because I firmly believe love is defined in the Word of God. God clearly states what love is and how it should be displayed. But I think oftentimes as people, we lack the patience to really understand what love is. So I think my son taught me how to patiently love people, but also understanding that love is defined, but it's also developed. So you have to develop love, and that takes time. And piece by piece, day by day, you get better at loving people, but it's all about being intentional. And I think for me, being a father, I always wanted to not only provide, but be intentional with everything that I did, whether it be small conversations or just honestly just being present. Because I know a lot of people who were friends of mine, like for me, on my behalf, being so transparent, man, I didn't have a father, in my home growing up at all. I met my dad when I was, probably about 6 years old, and didn't meet him again until I was 20, I would say 23. And my father passed away 2 years ago from, stage 4 lung cancer. So the years that I did have with him were painful because he wasn't able to really be himself. He was sick, he was ill. And I happened to be a father at a young age, man. I was 20 years old when I found out I was going to be a father. I grew up in the church, man. I love Jesus and everything. But, I typically at a stage of my life, I would say in high school, I kind of went my own way. Still love God, but went my own way. And it came with some issues and some different things. But I think for me, my child led me back to Christ. And my story is unusual for most because I find myself now serving in ministry, and me not being married, having a child. It took a lot of grace for some people because a lot of people still live by the law and they don't understand God's grace. So I think for me, my story is very different. But I also think the biggest challenge for me as my son is mixed. He's multiracial. So, right now, in the type of times we on right now, it's very difficult breaking things down to him because it's split. I'm African-American, his mother's Caucasian. So it's hard for him to really fathom that. But I think the hardest part for me was learning how to be a father because I never witnessed a male in my home growing up, and I never had a father speak identity to me. So I never really, for a long segment of time, I never knew who I was except from the lens of who God told me I was. So I think for me, I think it's important as fathers that we just speak identity to our children so they know who they are from the very beginning. Because I think when you have to go a whole life not knowing who you are, it's very difficult, and you respond to love differently because you don't understand what love really is. But if you learn it at a young age from God's word, I think it really helps you grow because you understand everybody's not out to get you. Some people do care about you. And you're going to face trials, but I think you got to understand, too, that fathering is one of those things that comes with mistakes and that you never really ever going to get it right. It's just one of those things you got to keep constantly trying and be intentional behind your effort and being a dad.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, man. I love how God teaches us through the process and creates what we think are disadvantages, but sometimes are opportunities that God's given us to know what not to do and really how to lead, kids in the generation. Hey, I would love for you to maybe give an encouraging word, maybe encourage a new single father or someone who may be struggling as a single dad. If you have maybe just one line or maybe just a short thing just to kind of share to encourage them in the situation they find themselves in.
Wow. I would say in the simplest way, in the simplest context is that you can do it. It's reality, it's the reality that you choose, but most importantly, you can do it. It doesn't take any deep, context at all. And I had to kind of go through that process of, so when I actually got into the experience of holistically parenting her, by myself over the last 2.5 years, my parents would tell me all the time, Robert, you can do this. They helped me initially in the first 6 months or so to kind of help me readjust and reacclimatize to the fact that, schedule adjustments and really trying to figure out, okay, not having a spouse at that time anymore, really having to figure out, okay, so how do I do this? How do I get to work on time? And how do I, make sure she's handling, all the different affairs that pertain to her life, understanding that she has hobbies and activities that she needs to be a part of. And something as simple as eating, Robert, you can do it. You can really do this. It's easier than you think. And so really just making the commitment, the lateral commitment in my mind, the decision in my mind to say, you know what, I can do this. The Bible is clear. It talks about us being able to do all things through Christ, which strengthens us. And then more importantly, I had to get understanding, about what it is that I was really about to embark on doing. So there's a lot of things I had to pray about, a lot of things I had to seek God about, and I had to really get clarity and understanding from him directly, and vision that I wanted to, put in my own household, put in my own construct of, again, the legacy that I want to leave here. But the simplest form, the simplest context to say it all in is, you can do it. It's not something that's not unattainable. And it's really to the likenesses of your own effort. You know what I mean? And it's about you identifying, accepting what you want your reality to look like. If your reality is that, you do want to be a present father, you can do that. It takes nothing more than a decision and a commitment to say, yes, I can.
Yeah, I love that. Mikhail, how about you, man?
Man, that's good. I would have to say, man, I've always been an Ephesians 3:20 type of guy. Just knowing God is able to do, exceedingly abundantly above all we can ever ask or think, according to his power, that has at work within us. So I think for me, I've always believed in the power of God, the power of the Holy Spirit. So I think, man, for me, I would tell a young parent is make sure you prioritize. I think that's key. I think that is key in life in general, whether you're a single parent, whether you're married, whether you're single, whether whatever it may be, whether it may be your job. I think God is very strategic in his ideas. Every detail matters to God. So I feel like if we plan properly, God will bless that. And I think, man, when you a single parent and you in that situation, it's easy to get bombarded or to feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders because you feel like you got to carry it all because you feel like you don't have help. So I think for a young parent or just someone that's new to this, I would say, man, make sure you gather a good support system where you can lean on them, where they listen to you. They may not understand you because your situation may be different, but they'll listen to you, help you, and they'll guide you. And I think that firm foundation, man, you'll see fruit from that. Because I think for me, I am where I am, not based on my efforts, but by the grace of God. And I think when we focus on building that connection and relationship with our Creator, he gives us a particular grace for every situation we face. And I think it's a grace that God gives you when you're a single parent. And I think it's one he gives you when you're married, because it might be times you just don't want to talk to your wife at that moment, but God gives you grace to cool down and calm down. So I would say, man, honestly, like you said, you can do it, but also understand that you don't have to do everything. And I think that's one thing that we have to understand as people, that we're not called to do everything. We got to focus on control the controllables. And I think if you do that and control what you can control and leave the rest for God, I think, man, you're going to see fruit, not only in season, but out of season.
Hey, Pastor, can I jump in right there real quick? Because he said something along the lines of, you don't have to do everything. The biggest thing that I also had to learn is that you don't have to do everything alone. And so in the transition of it all, one of my biggest failures was that I thought that I was a man or I was more of a father because I did everything on my own, because I dropped her off, because I picked her up, or because I gave her impartation to what it is that life looks like. And, it takes a village, and I had to really accept that. Of course, I had my parents who helped me in the initial transition of understanding, what it took to be a father and prioritizing, as my brother said. But, man, more importantly, my church family, I got a couple of brothers that are there, to name a few. Of course, Pastor Davenport. You got Mama Nixon who's there, Mr. Riggins. I tell you, every Sunday, I promise you, I try to do my best parenting, because I always told them, you're going to check on me. I know you're checking on me, and I know you're checking behind me. And growing up, I had a guy, you know the song, somebody prayed for me, had me on their mind, took the time and prayed for me. That's a real thing. That's not clichéic. That's not something that you just say because it sounds good. I literally had people praying for me and then watching me and then checking up on me and providing assistance when I needed it. I'm talking about, again, raising a daughter. I had women in the church that said, hey, it's time to look in the bras. If you have to understand what, whatever her bodily changes are going into, whether it be menstrually or whatever, listen, I'm available. You can call me. I'm talking about all the way down to learning how to put a ponytail in this girl's head. You know what I mean? Listen, I thought that I was a man because I got it wrong. And I almost, my daughter has beautiful hair, man. And I almost got it wrong because my pride and my ego wouldn't allow me to succumb to asking for help. You know what I mean? Yeah. And help don't mean that they do it for you, but they give you the information. They give you the information for you to be able to feed yourself and your child long term. And that's the key that I had to learn. I had to learn that You're not. And listen, all the struggle that I've encountered with raising her so far has been because I didn't want to ask questions. It's been because I did not want to ask questions, and it's okay. You know, that's no hit on your ego. That's no hit on your ability to be a man. It's actually a sign of strength that you're able to, and that you have a support system that you recognize and that you value, that is able to not only impart in your child, but impart in you too. And then encourage you through the process. You need people that are cheering for you, that says, hey, again, my original point, you can do this. But I'm going to help you do it too. So I just had to drop that part in there. You said something that triggered them.
Yeah,
that's
good.
It's where, you know, look, pretty much what you guys are saying is you can do it, but you don't have to do it alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And surround yourself with community, surround yourself with the right people, and you'll see success in parenting. So, dude, thank you guys so much for doing this with us and bringing light to really what it's like to be a single dad, the good, the bad, the ugly, all those things. And you guys are championing it. So we salute you guys, and we're for you. And so happy Father's Day. Single dad.